I spent 2 years building the wrong way. Every quarter I'd sit down, visualize the business I wanted, map out my goals, and feel incredible doing it. Dopamine through the roof. Then I spent 3 weeks building the action plan, and somewhere around week 4 the excitement died. I look at where I was versus where I wanted to be and realize I was maybe 30% of the way there. And quietly, without telling anyone, just let the project fade. I did this cycle 4 times across 2 different businesses before I realized the problem wasn't my discipline. It wasn't my work ethic. It wasn't the goals. The problem was simply the visualization itself. What I'm about to walk you through is the execution system that broke that cycle. I call this the A.D.A.P.T execution framework, and this is not a theory video, because I'm going to show you exactly how I build mine and my clients step by step, so you can copy the template and build yours by the end of this video. Here is what I didn't understand for years, and it's really important. When you positively visualize your vision, when you sit there and daydream about the ideal vision of your business, your income, your life, your brain simply does something strange. It rewards you right then, in the chair, before even you've done anything. In such a case, your dopamine spikes, your nervous system registers a feeling of accomplishment, and on some level, your brain checks a box that simply says, we are already there. But this isn't bro science. The psychological research on this is clear. Positive visualization alone tricks your brain into feeling like the goal is already achieved. And when that happens, your visceral motivation to actually go and do the work evaporates. So here is the cycle I was stuck in. Step 1, get excited about a vision. Then I have high energy, high motivation. Step 2, start planning. Energy starts dropping. Step 3, begin executing. Progress is slow, and the gap between where I am and where I want to be still feels massive. Step 4, somewhere around 30% of the way to the goal, I hit the wall. And in that moment, excitement is gone. Motivation is dead. I look at the remaining 2/3 of the journey and it feels impossible. Step 5, quietly quiet. Move on to the next exciting idea. Repeat again and again. And here is the stat that shook me. 90% of people give up at this exact point. Around 30% progress. Myself included, 4 times. The question I had to answer was, if positive visualization is the trap, what's the alternative? The answer is something called an anti-vision. The term was popularized by Danko, and the concept has its roots back to Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action, what stands in the way becomes the way. Here is how to think about it. Imagine a rubber band. If you only hold one end, the beautiful positive vision of your future, the band is loose, slack. Zero mechanical energy. It can't move anything. To generate real tension, you have to grab the other end and stretch that band tight. The other end is your anti-vision. Instead of only asking, what do I want? You also ask, what do I absolutely despise and refuse to let my future become? You look directly at the dark patterns of your past, the failures, the bad habits, the things you are terrified of sliding back into, and you document them in a brutal detail. When you pin down both ends of that rubber band, the vision pulling you forward and the anti-vision pushing you from behind, you simply create psychological tension. And that tension is the fuel. It's not the excitement. Excitement, as I already said, fades at 30%. But tension doesn't. Tension demands resolution. This was the insight that changed everything for me. But insight without a system is just a feeling. So I built the matrix. The A.D.A.P.T execution matrix is the framework I built to turn the anti-vision concept into a daily execution system. It's 5 stages, and I'm going to walk you through each one exactly as I did it. Most people skip this step. They jump straight to goals, but don't. Ask yourself one question. If I change absolutely nothing, where will I be in 12 months, 3 years, 5 years? But you must be specific, not I'll be unhappy. Write down the concrete details. What does your business look like? Your income, your health, your relationship, your daily routine. In my case, I wrote, in 12 months, if nothing changes, I will still be running the same stagnant business, making the same revenue, waking up with the same low-grade dread every morning, and still telling myself I'll figure it out next quarter. Then, next to each of those projections, I listed the current habits, decisions, patterns that simply would carry me there. Not to shame myself, but to make the trajectory visible and undeniable. This is uncomfortable. And it should be. That discomfort is the first sign the rubber band is stretching. Here is where you go deep. Your anti-vision is not a bullet list of things you don't want. It's a clear, detailed, almost cinematic description of your worst-case future. The version of your life and business that you will do anything to simply avoid. I wrote mine as a narrative, a day in the life of the version of me that gave up. What I eat for breakfast, what my inbox looks like, how it feels wake up, what I tell myself in the mirror, how I interact with my family, what my bank account says, what opportunities I'm no longer qualified for, how I feel watching peers pass me by. I wrote it in present tense and I made it hurt. The goal is not to dwell in negativity. The goal is to give your brain something real to run from. Positive visualization is vague. I want to be successful means nothing. But I refuse to become the person who checks his bank account with his eyes half closed because he knows what he's about to see. That's concrete. That's the fuel. The next is anchoring the tension. Now you have both ends of the rubber band, the vision you're moving toward and the anti-vision you're moving away from. But here is the part most people miss. The tension doesn't sustain itself, because entropy is real. In physics, entropy says that any complex system left without fresh energy will naturally decline into chaos and disorder. And your execution system obeys the same law. If you write your anti-vision once and file it away, the tension fades within days. You have to anchor it, make it accessible, make it impossible to ignore. What I did in my case, I simply condensed my anti-vision into a single paragraph. I read it every morning before I open my laptop. Every single day. It usually takes 45 seconds and it restretches the rubber band. I also keep a shorter version, 3 sentences, on my phone. When I catch myself drifting, scrolling, procrastinating, I simply read it. This is not a motivational quote for the day. This is a deliberate daily dose of productive discomfort. It is the energy input that fights entropy. Now, simply we move from psychology to operations. The anti-vision gives you energy, but energy without direction is just anxiety. You simply need to channel it into specific high-leverage actions. For this purpose, I built a simple grid. On one axis, does this task move me toward my vision or away from my anti-vision? On the other, is this high leverage or low leverage? And the sweet spot is the intersection. Tasks that simply directly move you away from your anti-vision and have high leverage. For me, that was outreach. Sales conversation. The thing I'd been avoiding for months because it felt uncomfortable. But when I mapped it against my anti-vision, or the version of me that never built a client base, that slowly ran out of runway, that had to explain to my family why it didn't work. Suddenly, the discomfort of outreach felt trivial compared to the discomfort of that future. I call these the execution triggers. When you feel the tension from your anti-vision, these are the actions you default to. No decision fatigue, no what should I work today. The anti-vision points, you simply execute. This is the maintenance system. Because remember, entropy is always running in the background. Every Sunday, I spend 5 minutes on 3 questions. Number 1, did I read my anti-vision every morning this week? Yes or no? No judgment, just data. Number 2, did I complete my execution triggers? How many days out of 7? And number 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is the psychological tension right now? If I see that it's dropping below a 6, the rubber band is going slack and I need to simply re-engage with the anti-vision. That's it. 5 minutes, no complex dashboards, no productivity porn. The tracking is not about the optimization, it's about awareness. If I skip reading the anti-vision for 3 days, I know exactly why my execution is slipping. The system doesn't break mysteriously. It breaks visibly, and in that case, I catch it early. After 30 days of running this system, 3 things shifted. First, I stopped quieting at 30%. The excitement still faded, it always does. But I was no longer running on excitement, I was running on tension. And tension doesn't care about your mood. It's a physics. The rubber band stays stretched until you act. Second, my decision fatigue dropped dramatically. Every morning I knew exactly what to do because simply the execution triggers were pre-mapped. I wasn't choosing between tasks based on how I felt. The anti-vision chose for me. Third, and this was the unexpected one, I became less precious about my vision. Before, my positive vision was this fragile thing I had to protect. If I had a bad week, I'd feel like I was betraying it. But anti-vision doesn't care about your feelings. It's not fragile. It's just the truth about what happens if you stop. And that truth doesn't change whether you had a good day or a bad day. The system works because it's not built on motivation. It's built on tension, clarity, and a weekly maintenance loop that fights entropy. Here is what I want you to steal. I built a simple template with 5 sections. I'll link it below, but even if you don't download it, you can build this in a blank document in 20 minutes or probably less. Section 1 is about your current trajectory. Simply here you must write one paragraph describing where you'll be in 12 months if nothing changes. Then you will list the 3 habits feeding that trajectory. Section 2 is anti-vision narrative. Here you must write a full page present tense description of your worst case future. Make it vivid, make it hurt. This is your fuel. Section 3 is about anchor statement. Condense your anti-vision into 3 to 5 sentences. This is simply what you will read every morning before work. Section 4 is where you write your execution triggers. List the 3 to 5 highest leverage actions that move you away from your anti-vision. These are your defaults. When in doubt, simply do this. Section 5 is reserved for weekly check-in. Here are 3 questions. Anti-vision read, triggers done, tension level, 5 minutes every Sunday. That's the entire system. 20 minutes to build, 45 seconds a day to maintain, 5 minutes a week to calibrate. The reason most execution advice fails is that it tries to make you more disciplined, more motivated, more driven. But discipline and motivation are feelings. And feelings are unreliable. The A.D.A.P.T execution framework doesn't ask you to feel anything. It asks you to stretch a rubber band between 2 truths. The future you want and the future you refuse to accept. And then let the tension do the work. So, build your matrix this week, read your anti-vision every morning, watch what happens by day 30. I'll put the template link in the description. If this framework changed something for you, I want to hear about it in the comments. See you in the next one.